Hello everyone, today is day number 31, I think. Today's a Sunday, so I'm going to be doing the Bible study. Yeah, I'm going to read pretty much all of Jonah. I think looking back at the story of Jonah now from like an older perspective has given a lot of cool insight to me. I know like as a kid in Sunday school, the story of Jonah is a pretty fun one to teach, so I think it's something that most lifelong Christians know pretty well is the story of Jonah. The Bible isn't a children's book, so if you go back and reread some of the stuff that you heard about in like Sunday school and stuff, it's going to be a lot different. And Jonah's definitely a really good example of that. I really do love this book. You know, the book of Jonah, it starts out, the Lord tells Jonah, go to the great city of Nineveh, preach against it because its wickedness has come up before me. But Jonah ran away from the Lord and headed to Tarshish. He went down to Joppa where he found a ship bound for that port. After paying the fare, he went aboard and sailed for Tarshish to flee from the Lord. And that goes on for a while. The sailors cast lots to figure out whose fault it is. They figure out it's Jonah. They end up throwing him into the ocean, and the water instantly becomes calm again. This is the cool part. Once Jonah gets swallowed by the fish, he has a prayer. The Lord provided a huge fish to swallow Jonah, and Jonah was in the belly of the fish 3 days and 3 nights. From inside the fish, Jonah prayed to the Lord his God. He said, in my distress I called to the Lord, and he answered me. From deep in the realm of the dead I called for help, and you listened to my cry. You hurled me into the depths, into the very heart of the seas, and the currents swirled about me. All your waves and breakers swept over me. I said, I may have been banished from your sight, yet I will look again towards your holy temple. The engulfing waters threatened me, deep surrounded me. Seaweed was wrapped around my head, to the roots of the mountains I sank down. The earth beneath barred me forever, but you, Lord my God, brought my life up from the pit. When my life was ebbing away, I remembered you, Lord, and my prayer rose to you, to your holy temple. Those who cling to worthless idols turn away from God's love for them. But I, with shouts of grateful praise, will sacrifice to you. What I have vowed I will make good. I will say, salvation comes from the Lord. And the Lord commanded the fish, and it vomited Jonah onto dry land. It's really hard to imagine what it would be like to be literally swallowed by a fish for 3 days. You can tell in this prayer that he is clearly like in a frame of mind that I don't think we'll ever really be able to experience. Seaweed is wrapped around my head, to the roots of the mountains I sank down. I love that line, to the roots of the mountains. I don't really think there's necessarily a great takeaway that I have in mind for this. It's so cool to me how he must have felt, how crazy it is that he managed to survive that even. I mean, I can show you guys. I have it up on my wall, right up there. The entire prayer. I don't have a little bit of the in part, but I have most of it. And it's just so good. Really a testament to how strong God is that he's able to do something like that. For those of you out there who are like really science-minded like I am, there's actually some really interesting discoveries in the area of how that could work. They recently discovered a fish that's like really big and actually has a separate stomach that it can like eat food in and it doesn't digest instantly. And I'm still not entirely sure how he managed to like not die of like asphyxiation. But like there are fish out there that could swallow you and not digest you for 3 days straight. So other than that last part, which I'm sure God can figure out because he's literally God, it's entirely possible. Anyway, after that he goes to Nineveh. Jonah obeyed the word of the Lord and went to Nineveh. Now Nineveh was a very large city. It took 3 years to go through it. Jonah began by going a day's journey into the city, proclaiming, 40 more days and Nineveh will be overthrown. The Ninevites believed God. The fast was proclaimed, and all of them, from the greatest to the least, put on sackcloth. Sackcloth is like this like type of clothes that they wore back then to show that they were mourning, and it was kind of like it was like a mourning garment that you'd wear when like someone died or something. When Jonah's warning reached the king of Nineveh, he rose from his throne, took off his royal robes, covered himself in sackcloth, and sat down in the dust. This is the proclamation he issued to Nineveh. By the decree of the king and his nobles, do not let people or animals, herds or flocks taste anything. Do not let them eat or drink. Let the people and animals be covered up with sackcloth, yet everyone call urgently on God. Let them give up their evil ways and their violence. Who knows? God may yet relent and with compassion turn from his fierce anger so that we will not perish. When God saw what they did and how they turned from their evil ways, he relented, and he did not bring upon them destruction he had threatened. I think that part, honestly, is equally incredible a miracle. Nineveh was a city that was not part of anything Jewish. There's this dude who just got spit up by a fish. It doesn't necessarily say it was instantly afterwards. It could have been like a while, a couple months maybe even. But the fact that they literally the entire city just instantly repented is crazy. And Jonah didn't really like this. In Jonah 4:1 it says, but to Jonah this seemed very wrong, and he became angry. He prayed to the Lord, isn't this what I said, Lord, that when I was still at home? That is what I tried to forestall by fleeing to Tarshish. I knew that you are a gracious and compassionate God, slow to anger and abounding in love, a God who relents from sending calamity. Now, Lord, take away my life, for it is better for me to die than to live. But the Lord replied, Is it right for you to be angry? Jonah had gone out and sat down in a place east of the city. There he made himself a shelter, sat in its shade, and waited to see what would happen to the city. Then the Lord God provided a leafy plant and made it grow up over Jonah to give shade for his head to ease his discomfort. And Jonah was very happy about the plant. But at dawn the next day, God provided a worm, which chewed the plant so that it withered. When the sun rose, God provided a scorching east wind, and the sun blazed on Jonah's head so that he grew faint, and he wanted to die. And he said, It would be better for me to die than to live. But God said to Jonah, Is it right for you to be angry about the plant? And he said, It is, he said, and I am so angry that I wish I were dead. But the Lord said, You have been concerned about this plant, though you did not tend to it or make it grow. It sprang up overnight and died overnight. And I should not have concern for the great city of Nineveh, in which there are more than 120,000 people who could not tell their right hand from their left, and also many animals. That's the end. He just proves Jonah wrong because he's God. Anyway, yeah, I just really want to share that with you guys. It's to me, it was really cool reading it and like seeing like the power that God has over His people and how He wants people to act. Yeah, I thought it was valuable. I hope you guys found something good in it, and I'll catch you guys tomorrow.